said a man wants to see me.
Alley out back.
Can't come in here. What is he, white? Oh, boy.
How was it when you received the script and you saw that you will be the heads of a crime family? Different, but still the top of the food chain.
I really liked the character, the way he was described, because he was someone that didn't talk very much, because he had a lot of power, so he didn't have to speak. And if he told you to do something, you did it, and if you didn't, there were consequences. And so reading that character was just interesting, exploring that, you know, and the power that he had within the system of the other gangs. So I just love the fabric of it.
But he also thinks before he does something, and it's not common by the criminals. He knows the final outcome. For him, all the crimes is like a chess play. He knows what moves can he get, and that not every player can be disposed, because maybe, just maybe, in a few years, he will be helpful.
That's right. He doesn't play checkers in a chess game, put it that way.
And Renan, how is it with your character? Because your character is this one that everybody can be disposed. You don't need anyone. Just deal with all of them and bring me all the money.
Yeah, he's a rascal. He's not concerned about anyone really but himself. I'd say he's rotten to the core. I had them make false teeth for me, so I looked a little nastier. I was very excited to play this part because I liked how unapologetically nasty this man is. And I also like that you find yourself rooting for everyone in this movie, although they're all anti-heroes. Everyone wants something different, and just when you think you understand what their motivation is, you're wrong, because our director Stevena Soderbergha is masterful with this genre.
Your character often says, I want only what's mine. But we can see that when the story progresses, his greed is coming to him. And I'm curious, was it this thing that was driving him and made him to the jail for the first time, and he didn't learn on his mistakes? How was it with this character?
Well, I think that I actually think to play devil's advocate, his greed was not for himself. I mean, I don't want to give the plot away unless people, I don't know who you're showing this to. I don't know if this is coming out before people have seen the movie, but if you're paying attention and watch very carefully, Kurt's supposed greed at the end, that's not what it's about. And all of these things that he's amassed and all of this money that's come together, it's not for him. So he did learn, and he has changed, and he is a different person and a much more humbled person. And I think, you know, the outcome would have been much different had he not learned, especially with the people that he was dealing with.
And Benicio, also your character is the one who is most paranoid, and he sees everyone in his circle that can cross him. And I'm curious, how is it to play such a character that doesn't believe anyone, even the character that Don is playing?
Well, I think that my character is the one who appears to have limits to his greed, but he's probably the greediest of them all.
That's so funny. It's so true that you're right. I didn't think about that.
So, I think that's kind of like, I think that's one of the things that was interesting to, like Don was saying, he appears to be more greedy, but in reality, he's less greedy. I appear to have limitations. I always telling him like, no, this is as far as we go. But I think I'm the one who's like really would sell his mother for a bag of money. I think that's kind of like my character. And I think that's what's interesting about the script, that, what's on the surface might be different than what's really underneath.
what happened that they were thinking that they can outrun the player? Because you are always the head of the game and they're trying to cross you out. How did it happen?
Well, I just did what the script told me to do. So, but it was fun to play, and I just really liked the script. And like you say, there are double crosses as you're reading it. You think, okay, well, this is where this is going, and then all of a sudden there's a twist, and it's always fun and interesting. As a moviegoer, I like that where all of a sudden I'm surprised.
And always when I see you give this dignity to a mobster, when I see him on the screen, whatever movie it is, I'm scared. And I thought I'm not easy to scare, but every time I see you in the history of the cinema, you make me scared.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm not really like that, but it's fun to play those kind of characters.
And Julie, in this movie, you play this silent person who has her agenda. I cannot spill the beans what it is. How does it to play somebody that is holding the cards really near to herself, knowing that she will have the final say?
I loved that. It was so exciting, and I had so much fun watching it, knowing that information that she was going to do what she ends up doing, because I know that nobody saw it coming. And there was just there was amazing shots. And I think that the audience will definitely find it as amusing as I did, hopefully.
But I'm curious, when you read the script and you saw what happens and everybody's crossing everybody, and you guys are trapped in between, trying to be this simple family, trying to have a simple life, and see it that it's all turning down. What was your feelings like? What did you thought about the script?
Amy, you want to go first?
Yeah, I found the writing, Ed's writing, and also knowing Steven and like loving his filmmaking and how he plays with humor in the script, and how Ed wrote the script. It was just there every single moment, even though it's like intense and exciting, and we're essentially hostages. There's these little embedded jokes that make it super playful and really fun as an actor to play. And so, what could be a very straightforward like hostage scene becomes this really fun sort of dysfunctional family scene with like little embedded jokes that we get to play around with on the day.
I guess what? Oh, sorry.
No, come on.
No, I was just going to say, I guess what was really interesting to me and what kind of attracted me to the project was the fact that, like, what do you do in a situation like this? Because, there's the screaming and the crying and, like, all getting really scared. But then it gets to a point past that when almost, I guess, the survival instincts start to die down and your logic kind of comes to the front a little bit. And so it's really interesting because it's like a very tense moment, but it's played out for a long time. So there's lots of these kind of crazy things that happen, and you never really see that. You just kind of see hostages held and they're scared the whole time. So I was really, interested by this kind of new take on it and how you would react if you were in a situation like this.
I'm curious, when you read the script, did you notice in the beginning that you are the ones, or it was such a surprise as for the viewers?
It was a surprise. And in fact, the script went through several different iterations as it was being developed. And I think that that's kind of the genius of Ed Solomon, the writer, and Steven, was that the ball got passed around as it was being developed on who started it and who it was. And the fact that it ended up in the lap of the nobody at the center of the piece, I thought was the perfect answer for it. But we didn't really know that he was the guy going in. That sort of was developed later.
Yeah, I don't think our hotel scene was in there the way it was until like many drafts later.
And also, your both characters are connected with one thing: they don't like to harm anyone else. When we see other characters in this puzzle, the gangsters, they don't joke around. Your guys actually try to go as harmless as they can go for other people, but have their own outcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think the sort of inciting incident that kicks the movie off, though, Kurt definitely harmed somebody, but it's for a good reason. I mean, he is doing it to protect themselves and other people. So they're not angels, but they're not, you know, they're in a game. I liken it to everybody's like in a NASCAR and they're trying to get through this car crash that's happened on the second turn and just see if they can get out alive with a tank of gas enough to get them in the pit stop and get them home.
Right.
It's the same for you, Benicio?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's talking about Kurt is. I don't think my character is different, though he appears to be something else. But like I said, my character is really a poisonous snake that pretends to be a rabbit.
And it also can be a turnaround for you because you don't get many offers to play villains, dark characters. You usually are the hero in most of the stories.
Really? What is a villain and what is a dark character? Do they wake up in the morning thinking that they're dark and villainous? I challenge you, David.
I think so. You said that he's disposing everyone. He doesn't care about no one. And the final.
Do you know how hard it is to be a gangster in the 1950s? He's got overhead, people to pay, places to be.
David, be very careful because he knows where your kids go to school.
Thank God it's pandemic and it's not so easy to travel, and I'm in Poland, so it's far away from him as it's possible. But I could see that, David, you're only the tool in Frankie's hands. Actually, she was the brain, and I liked it because it's not so obvious in the beginning. Mm-hmm. You just think that she's this mistress of him, and they want to start their together life. But after the story develops, you can see who's the brains of the operation.
I agree. I think that's a testament to Frankie as an actress. I think that she plays that first scene in the office wonderfully demure in a certain way and sweet. And then as you see this beast rise up as the thing goes on. And I really like the way that she's arced that.
Thank you. Yeah, I like the fact that you think she's just like the blonde secretary other woman. And then if you keep watching, you realize that she's the blonde secretary other woman with a plan.
Yeah, the woman is always the devil. We know that. We know that. And David, I want to ask you also, because there is one scene when you're captured with your family in your home. And usually in the project that you are in, you're the hero. You're the one who starts kicking and punching. This time, you're this humble fellow who's saying like, okay, relax. How was it, this change for you?
Well, it's very much more natural to play that than it is to be kicking and punching in the midst of scary violence. I do, respect people with skills and guns enough to, shut up and do what they say in general in my real life as opposed to in my action life. I mean, the great thing about him is that he is a man trapped, and a lot of times you play these characters and you play them because they have a certain strength and that appeals to you. But to me, what also appeals to me is human ordinariness and human failure and inadequacy and the things that I live with as a human being, I want to see represented on screen. And so that always very much attracts me to characters as well. And Matt is a very inadequate, trapped, imprisoned individual. And so I love people like that. I have a big, soft spot in my heart for people like that. I like playing.
But I'm curious, in your head, was there even a second when you opened the doors for the Red Guardian and you said like, I will punch you through the wall?
Not in this movie, but yes, in a lot of things, yes.
And also, your character is the one who is changing mostly in this movie, because in every scene he's changing, he's developing, he's thinking. And in the final outcome, what do you think? If he had some more time to think about it, would he run off or would he stay with the family?
That's a great question. And in fact, I think that's the most interesting thing to me. He does go back to his wife in the end. And I actually think that's the biggest tragedy, is he did have this opportunity with Frankie's character to at least try for the brass ring, I mean, to do the thing. And the fact that he held on to this shell of a life with a wife that he doesn't really love and who doesn't really love him because he was afraid is like his greatest tragedy. So I think it's a deep tragedy for his character. It's not a successful journey. And that was sad. I wish he'd run off. Like, I wish he'd tried it and run off and even gotten killed or whatever. At least he would have lived, you know. And for a moment in the movie, he kind of does live. I mean, he's punching people, but then he can't sustain it.
I was surprised that Amy, your character, actually was very calm and she felt good in this situation. Like, she didn't startle, she wasn't scared. She adapted to the situation very fast, very well. In the scene when she's bringing this house for birds, you can see, like, for her it's a normal Sunday.
I'm not sure if it's a normal Sunday, but I think it's the adaptable. But also, you know, for Mary, I was talking to Steven with and playing with is like, she knows he's having an affair. Do you know what I mean? And it's almost like this is just confirmation that, you know, this is like, oh, okay, great, it's said out loud now. We've said it out loud, and now now it's just like sinking in. And also, I think after a while too, in these situations, like Noah was saying, it's like after the initial shock of being like kidnapped, and after, you know, a good few hours of being around these people, or 30 minutes or however long, I think you'd start to like calm down and realize, like, oh, they're not going to kill me.
Yeah, but it's also like
theory. I don't want to put this in practice, by the way.
Yeah, no. This is why we make these movies, is we don't have to actually do them in real life.
But Amy, please correct me if I'm wrong, but looking on this movie and on your character on the arc, I think she has something behind her as well. She's not so cute and innocent as we can imagine.
No, I mean, I think that's to be sort of like, we tip our hand a little bit in it as well, but I definitely think that she knows more than you know, we're being explicitly told. But yeah, but that's one of those questions that I'd like to leave, you know, unanswered.
And Noah, your character, we can see that he's also shifting after he realizing that his dad is not so innocent, and what happens to you guys actually he brought along. You're starting to step up a little bit, starting to be the father figure and help the family to go through going to the police.
Yeah, I think for Matthew, I think there's almost a very different journey than for Mary, because I feel like Mary, as Amy said, is already in the know slightly of what's going on, of how her husband is having an affair. But I think Matthew is not in the know to this, and this is quite new to him, and he's kind of suddenly being, you know, waking up to what's around him and waking up to the fact that, you know, it's his family's a little bit fucked up, and he's like trying to deal with that and trying to, while also getting kidnapped and held hostage. So it's like a really crazy you know, emotions to play with, and yeah, so I think I like Matthew, and I like the fact that, you know, he's brave enough to kind of step in front of his mom and try and be the man of his house, because his dad can't necessarily do that.
And from the actor point of view, and also as probably a fan of filmmaking, what was your reaction when you actually noticed that the guys who kidnapped you will be Benicio del Toro and Don Cheadle? Well, how did you react?
I was a little scared. I was a little like, okay, oh damn. But then I guess it's the fact that, you know, usually you're in a scene with like one amazing actor and you can just deal with that and you could be like, right, okay, I've got to meet them now. But there were like two, and Kieran and Amy and David. I was like, whoa, what's going on? This is insane. So yeah.
And it's not even the top of the iceberg of the cast of this movie. So I was amazed how many good actors actually Steven can combine in one storyline. And what is, from your position, what is the final outcome of this movie for the viewers? What they could take from it? Amy.
Oh, I guess don't trust anyone.
Not even the family member. Come on, don't be like that. I know the pandemic did something.
I don't trust Noah more than, like, you know, further than I can throw him. No. No, I mean, the takeaway, I mean, I think what it is for me at least, is understanding sort of how deep the corruption of money and sort of greed goes, you know, and something as simple and sort of like, you know, what we think of as like just part of our everyday life, that like if you unpeel the layers, like that it all sort of, especially in the US and pretty much anywhere, sort of all comes back to money and sort of corruption, which is really depressing. But it's I think to me it's like, just peel back the layers and find out more information so we can make more informative and hopefully more humane decisions as like a country or as a people, you know.
And Noah, for you?
I'm 16. I don't know yet.
I thought you will say money makes the world go round.
Yeah,
but okay.
Exactly. Get that money and keep it. Sit on
That's
it.
what he took away. I'm saying be more humane, and Noah's like, get that money, kill people, and
do whatever you have to do to get the money. And once you've got it, sit on it and don't give it to anyone. Don't share. Keep it to yourself.
And this movie also can be interpreted differently by every viewer. And I'm curious, when you guys read the script, what was the final outcome of the story that you got? What was the thing that you thought about after reading the whole story?
Well, I guess I thought mostly about my character and just what it meant to be a woman in the 40s, 50s, and you know, what her struggle was and why maybe she was justified in doing what she did. And if I would have done the same in her position, dealing with these types of guys that are not so nice to her. You know, I think that all the characters, not just her, are just a product of their environment, and all the corruption that was going on in the auto industry. So, you know, I don't think anyone is really to blame.
Right?
Tell me the question again.
What was the final outcome after you reading the script? What is the story for you about?
Oh, the final outcome was I wanted to do it because of Steven directing it, and I just really like the script. So, and like you said, you never know what's going to happen. There's a lot of twists and turns, and there's, you know, usually you could figure out what's going on with a lot of scripts, but this one I had no idea. And the fact, like Julia said, that that's actually a true thing in terms of what they wanted to steal.
Yeah, because for me it was like the money make people crazy, because when we see the main character, it's never enough. He's always saying that I want my money that I'm supposed to get, but when he sees the stakes is getting higher and higher, he's more greedy. And I think that it's this final thing that is common for all the characters over here, that they all are greedy. They are never enough. They are never saying like, this is good for me, I can stick with that. They always want more.
Yeah, it's human nature. We want more, and it really was his downfall.
Yeah, that's what we can see for pretty all the characters in this movie. And also, I'm curious, when you were shooting it, it was during the pandemic. How was it to deal with those special circumstances and all the quarantine things that you have to proceed during shooting?
Go on, Julia.
Right? Like,
It was a lot of I mean, we were always safe. We got tested a lot. So, you know, we were very careful. The downside was that, you know, we couldn't hang out with each other as much as I would have liked. I like to you know, hang around the set and meet everyone and watch the monitor. And that was hard. That was difficult to do. So that was probably the only downside, but we were always safe and very, very careful.
but I'm curious, how did you prepare? Because normally there is this table read where you can all sit down and read and try the dialogue and work it together. When you were shooting during the pandemic, you did it like we do right now through the communication computer, or you got together?
I didn't do a table read. Did you, Ray?
Oh, nope.
No. Yeah, I guess they didn't do that because of COVID.
Good. Then I'm stoned because your dialogues between the characters are so dynamic and so good told that I thought that you actually had this time to prepare. If not, then again, kudos for you guys for doing a great job for that. Because this movie is mostly about dialogue. And because you did it so brilliantly, I stood during this movie and was hypnotized. And my final question is, when you saw how many good names were in this movie, what was your first thought? Like, which name was this groundbreaking for you on this movie?
For me, it was Ray probably, and Benicio, just because they've been in some of my favorite movies that I've watched over and over and over again. But they were all incredible. You know, I was starstruck by all of them.
Julie, do you treat all your favorite actors like you treat Jay and Ray in this movie?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, but off screen, I'm nice, I swear.
Is she telling the truth, Ray?
Yep, it's very true.
Guys, I'm also curious because watching this movie, everyone can take something else from it and interpret it in their own way. And I'm curious, when you read the script, when you saw the story, how did you see the story and how did you interpret it? First, Brendan, please.
Well, I was so happy that Stevena Soderbergha is going to be directing a film in a genre that he excels with. Like, I can't think of a working, living, world-class director who does it better than he does. I knew that this is a movie that would be exciting, that it would be engaging, that would keep everyone engaged and thinking and wondering what's going to happen next. And I think that it's time that we take a step back to the 1950s and have a look at the world of that, to juxtapose the end of the couch that we've all been sitting on for the last 15, 16 months. I'm really delighted that this movie was able to be made and that we did it under strict safety protocols and protections in place. It's a real accomplishment for that reason, but that's not anything that you would know just watching the movie. What you see is a really accomplished piece of cinema.
Bill?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
How do you interpret the story that you got in the script?
How do I interpret? I interpret it as how can I say, a voyeur experience into crime and how it occurs and the politics of crime. Because who you think may be on top and in charge, that's not necessarily who is in charge. And you go through layers of finding out what's going on. I just found that fascinating, because he stayed ahead. The author stayed ahead of the audience, and that was a trap. Once the audience catches up with you, done.
And I was astounded that this story is in 1950s, but it's very accurate right now. So not so many things changed actually about the where and the cars that they were moving. People are still the same greedy, and the crime is still on the same level, but maybe they change in white colors, but still it's pretty the same.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And guys, also we have the last minute, so I'm curious, which part of this character was mostly given from you? Because I know that when you guys receive the script, it's always that you can bring something from you to the character to make it more relatable for the viewers. So I'm curious, what did you give these characters from your head, Brandon?
Well, I felt like I brought my desire and my need to just have a job and just be working, just like my character does.
Mr. Bill?
What did I bring to it, you're saying?
Yes.
I brought with me, like an investigative spirit into this lifestyle. I did some research on it, and that was seeing what was happening on during that time, and how this black head of this organization got through it and was competitive. That was fascinating to me.
And Frankie, I think that your character is one in a few from this story that actually succeeds in something, because mostly of them, as David said, they have a tragic end or a sad end. Your character is going well, as we could see. She's going with a bang, she's smiling, and she's saying like, I have a plan and I did it back down.
Yeah, I somewhat agree with you, but then she also knows, at least believes in, at that period of time in 1955 America, that she had to go back to her husband, who she doesn't love, to pursue the thing that she wants, which is a move across the country. So she doesn't go alone. She goes back to her husband too. I think the only one who really makes out in this movie is Matt Damon's character, with like real, like the one who like really comes out on top.
Yeah, Frankie, but be honest, like looking for the eyes of this character, did she love the characters of David, or she was only using him for the money and for the glory?
She did love him. I really do think so. And I think that at that period of time, she was operating under this like belief system that you couldn't be out in the world alone. Like you needed to align yourself for the protection politically, like legally with a man, right? We have to remember it's 1955. So I think for all of those conditions and beliefs that she was operating under, yeah, she thought she liked, at least she loved David more than she loved her current husband.
And David, my last question to you, because you said your character is coming back home to the wife. Do you actually think that they let him in?
Well, that's funny. I mean, they do sit down at that other house and he says it's only Tuesday or whatever, and they smoke a cigarette together. I think they probably, only because, they all need each other at a certain point. So they probably let each other live with each, but I'm sure they'll make each other miserable for the next 30 years.